Hey everyone. Welcome to Macstock's first live stream of 2022. Thank you for everyone being in the chat room there. I will let you know I'm dealing with a lot of new tech today. I've got some old tech. I've got some stuff that I used for virtual Macstock in the past, but I also have some new stuff and some cool software and things that let me see the chat room in big, bold letters over here, as well as my co-host. Now, let's see here. I need to go ahead and bring my co-host into the show here. I need to assign you. There we go. That should. Guest one. All right. Let's see if this works. Let's see. Oh, hey, Chuck Joiner. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thank you, Mike. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me in this inaugural launch.
Inaugural live stream update for Macstock. I think we're going to need a few of these this year. I've got a lot to cover. I'm going to be relying on my notes. I hope everybody is okay with that. Chuck, you're, of course, with MacVoices. I'm going to be looking over this way because that's where I see you. But you're with MacVoices. We're using technology that you use quite a lot. We're using Ecamm Live. This is actually going to be pretty cool today, I think. We were in a little green room there. We had the countdown at the beginning. And of course, we've got the chat room here too. So if anyone has any questions or anything that you want to bring up, preface it with a Q or with the word question so that I know to mark it and we can address it later as we're moving on. They're saying that you have an echo, Chuck. I don't know why that would be. How about now?
How about now? Testing 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm not at the bottom of a barrel. I'm not in a different acoustic environment, so I should not have an echo, I don't think.
All right, have we taken care of Chuck's echo? Still got an echo on Chuck.
Brian just says still. Sorry, guys.
I don't know why Chuck has an echo. I can turn. All right, let's see what happens if we do this. Try chatting, Chuck.
Okay, so I'm chatting away. Am I echoing? Am I echoing? I hope not, because I was not giving Mike an echo when we were in the green room, and Mike is not echoing to me. Right. So
let's give them a 10 seconds to let us know if we still have an echo on you. Same. Okay, so it's not coming through the mixer then. I don't think, Chuck. I don't know why we're getting an echo on that. Because I had your audio completely down on the mixer, so it's not coming through there.
Well, this is an inaugural show, Mike.
It is an inaugural show. We'll have to figure that out, I guess. Yeah. All right, I apologize for that, folks. Well, am I echoing? That's the important thing. Am I echoing? Mike is good, Rick says. Okay, good. Well, I have to admit, the bulk of what we're going to be talking about today is going to be coming out of this face. So fortunately, there won't be that much echo for you today. I am very cognizant of everybody's time. It is a weekday. It's work hours. I understand that. I even installed a clock on the wall so I could keep track of the time as we're going along here. The one thing I didn't count on is a reflection from the lights on the clock. So I don't know if I can actually see the clock now that I've installed it on the wall. The things that I go through for you guys, I tell you. All right, so let's see. Yes, Chuck will be joining us today. I'm going to be inviting other Macstock presenters to join me through other live streams as we go forward through the year, as we get closer to hopefully Macstock VI. This way folks can let you know what they're up to, what projects they're working on. But more importantly, it's just a way to help keep the community together and, to keep everybody in touch with everybody else. So the one thing I did tell Chuck is that I've completely invited him to break into the conversation at any time anytime during the conversation, whether we're talking about MacVoices or we're talking about Macstock, if you have a comment, Chuck, just break in and let's address that too. I'm going to be trying to watch the chat room here. While we're talking tech, Dave Hamilton says, hey Dave, how you doing? There you go. While we're talking tech, what cameras are you each using? Well, I'm actually using a Canon. It's just an HD. It's not a 4K. It's a Canon HD video camera. Same one I've been using at Macstock the past few years. The exact model is escaping me right at the moment. I'm sorry. I see Chuck posted he's got a Lumix 4K DSLR with Camlink. Mine is actually going into, I've got a mini HDMI cable actually going into a little HDMI adapter right underneath here. Very similar to the Ecamm Live USB, but it's another brand I'm using. It's actually an off brand. I apologize, Ecamm. I know I'm using Ecamm Live here. I'm not using your Camlink. All right.
And Mike, I'm like you. You know, people ask me about the camera. And it's like, yeah, I got to write it down somewhere and remember the model because I never model. I never remember the model.
Yeah, I apologize. I can't remember the model of it. And the spare one is sitting on the floor over there, just out of reach of my cord. So I'm not going to be able to go over and tell you. I'll try to look it up later in the episode here. Okay, so yeah, we're going to be turning to Chuck a few times during the live stream today, not only to talk about what's going on in his world, but as I said, he's been invited to break into the conversation at any time. So let's get that out of here. There you go. Crystal clear, says Dave Ginsburg. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So as I said, I'm going to be relying on my notes. Please forgive me for that. We have a lot to cover today. I just wanted to talk about the general overall timeline of what we're going to be talking about here. I'm going to be talking about local statistics regarding COVID, the survey results, the important thing that everybody's here for today, to talk a little bit about Macstock's name change, and also a little on the latest for Macstock's venue, and then some programming and protocol updates for Macstock 6. Okay, so here's the important thing. I want everyone to understand this right up front. No decisions are being announced today, okay? I hope as we go through things today, it's going to become a little bit more clear as to why I'm not announcing today, but I do promise that I'm going to make a decision no later, could be earlier, but no later than mid-April, okay? And that's kind of based on the survey results and how much time people needed in order to plan for attending a Macstock in July this summer. So I guess the unofficial title of this live stream today is going to be how we can safely and responsibly gather for Macstock once again. That's going to be our title today, I think. Okay, so I think first what I would like to do is switch over and switch to my screen here and show you some local statistics, things that I use as reference points to help determine whether we should go forward with Macstock or not. Now, this session timeout is actually that's from the website I'm on. So I'm going to go ahead and click reconnect on that. Okay, so this first website is something I've been using for quite some time now. This is from Georgia Tech, the Georgia Institute of Technology. And this is a COVID-19 event risk tool. It's been very handy. I can't remember when I first discovered this, but it's a very handy website, and I've been using it to kind of keep track of the state of things in terms of the risk to you as an attendee of Macstock. And of course, you could use this to evaluate the risk of attending any event anywhere in the country, in the greater United States. So what I'm going to do here is zoom in on our area right here. This is, going a little bit more here. This is McHenry County, McHenry, Illinois. This is our county right up here, right along the border of Wisconsin. And over on the left here, this is where we determine the event size. Right now it's set to 50 people. And then it also allows you to pick the rate of vaccination for the area that you're looking at, okay? Now, this other thing here is the ascertainment bias. Now, what they're doing here, and here's the full description of what they mean by the ascertainment bias, is that they are assuming that there are 4 times more cases than are being reported. Now, we can change that ascertainment bias. The default is 4 times more. We can change it to 3, or we can change it to 5. But that's what that means. There's an assumption that there are actually more cases than what's being reported. And they're going with the assumption that there are 4 times. I'll tell you, I've played with these numbers quite a lot. It doesn't make that big of a difference whether it's 3 times or 4 times or 5 times. But that's what that is. And then right over here on the left is the event size. Now, for Macstock's purposes, it's a little unfortunate that we go from 50 to 100 to 500. And you see how dark red that map is getting over there. There is no 200 level on the event size, unfortunately. There is on their little thermometer here, but there isn't a way to select it. So you can see with a 50-person event, let's go back to McHenry County again here. We look at the stats. The current risk level is 90%. And what they're saying is there's a 90% chance that there will be at least one individual at the event who has COVID. All right. That's what that 90% means. That's what this risk level means over here, that at least one COVID-19 positive individual will be present at an event in a county, given the size of the event. Now, Macstock has been, in recent years, a 200-person event. We can't go to 200 people, but we can go to 100, which is probably a little bit more realistic for Macstock in 2022. And you can see immediately that McHenry County jumps quite a bit. It jumps from that 90% to a 99% chance that at least one person at the event will be COVID-19 positive. Now, the nice thing is they also show the immunity via vaccination in the county, and we're currently around 65%. I have another web page I'm going to go to in a moment here that stream froze. Brett says the stream froze. All right, well, hopefully it comes back again. Is it frozen for everybody?
It just froze for a second, Mike, and then it caught up.
Oh, it's back. Okay,
so
good.
At least here you're back.
Okay, good. So just in case you missed this, this also shows the immunity via vaccination. McHenry County is currently at a roughly 65% vaccination rate in the county. This was last updated on February 8th, today. So again, an event size of 100, there's a 99% chance. I don't need to go up higher than that. If we go up to 100, 200, 500, it just jumps to greater than 99% chance. That's as of today. Okay. Oh, and I just pulled my mixer down to the ground. All right, there we go. So that is as of today. And that's this really awesome risk assessment tool. And I saw that Martine said that he was looking for something like this. So I'll make sure to put links for all this in the show notes. All right. So here's another tool I've been using lately. This is from Shaw Media. This is the local news organization in McHenry County, the various newspapers and whatnot. And these should be updated as of this morning. All right, so you can see where we're at here. I'm going to put on my glasses so I can see this a little bit better. Ooh, wow, that makes a difference. So this goes all the way back to the beginning. This goes back to March. Here, let me get something out of the way here. There we go. This goes back to March of 2020. And this is the number of confirmed cases. And you can see around July, when Macstock 2020 would have been held, McHenry County was at around 1,500 confirmed cases per day. We did jump up to around 8,000 later that year. Came back down last year. It was in May of 2021 when the state of Illinois actually lifted the mask requirements or greatly relaxed the mask requirements. Just before Delta hit, we had postponed Macstock again in 2021. We were down to around 460, 305 to 460 cases per day in 2021, and then Delta hit. Oh, thanks, Brett. Thanks. I appreciate that. Mike in sexy glasses. Oh, that one deserves to be added to the broadcast, Brett. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to add that to the. All right, we're done with that. Okay, so back to our stats here. So we were at. Let me get back to my browser. Okay, we were at. Then Delta hit. All right, and we started going up quite a bit. And then we had Omicron, and we just completely topped anything we've ever had before in this county, up to, roughly 42,000 new cases a day in early January. Again, we're nowhere near where we were in July of 2020 at this point. We're still at roughly 4,650 cases per day here in McHenry County, which is, we go back to July, roughly 2 times, a little over 2 times, 2.5 times where we were in July of 2020. And about 8 times where we were in July 2021. So we're still up there. Oh, I will point out, this is something that Janet told me. I have not verified this. Janet, my wife, told me that she had read that part of the reason for this large spike in January, and this probably won't surprise you because we're talking about government reporting here. Part of this is that they misreported the numbers. They didn't report the number of cases in December, and they reported them all in January. So this is a little bit of a false number here according to what we've read, but I haven't found an official record of that as of yet. But the numbers are still high. I mean, now here in February, these are back to normal reporting again, and we're still up there. But the good news is they're dropping. That's the good news. They're dropping. Now, COVID-19 deaths in Illinois by week. You can see where we were in July of 2020. We're at roughly 100, right around the time that Macstock would have been in 2020. We're at 108 deaths per week. Actually, yeah, per week. And then in July of 21, we were around 35. And at this point, we're at 568, unfortunately. And this is as of last week. This is not unique to McHenry County. This is not unique to Illinois. These are numbers we're seeing around the world. And these spikes that we're seeing do correspond to what we've heard, that especially here in Illinois, we're in winter, there's family gatherings, things like that. These numbers do go higher in winter, they come down in summer, but they're still considerably higher than they were at any point since January last year. And that's where we are there. Okay, so these are some of the, that's, okay, nothing else. The hospitalizations chart is gone. It used to be on here, but it's gone now. So I was going to go over that as well. But hospitalization numbers have been coming down in McHenry County as well, which again is good news because that's opening up beds for people who heart attacks, cancer patients, things like that, who need those beds and otherwise couldn't get them. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier, how vaccinated is it where you live? Let's see, I can zoom in here on the area. Oh, I need to use the little pluses and minuses here. And it just reloaded on me. You'd think I could have had this prepped before. Problem is, yeah, see, this page keeps reloading. All right, so where we are, right up here. This is Woodstock 60098. Oh. You back with us, Chuck? All right. I couldn't hear you, Chuck, but I assume you're back with us. Okay, back to this. Let's see here. 60098 is Woodstock. Percent fully vaccinated, we're at 63%. My hometown, 60142, Huntley, Illinois, we're at 75, 76%, somewhere in there. Crystal Lake, where McHenry County College is kind of split here among a couple different zip codes, but they're at 70, roughly 71 and 57% based on where you are in Crystal Lake. All right, so those are some of the tools I use. Those are where the numbers are at right at this moment. You can see where we are compared to where we were at the times that we postponed Macstock in the past. And these are definitely all factors I take into consideration as we talk about whether Macstock can be held in 2022. Brett has said that Chuck can't have an echo if you can't hear him to begin with. Let's see if Chuck is back with us. Are you with us, Chuck?
I am indeed back, yes.
All right.
Sorry
Chuck
about that.
is
It just
back.
dropped. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. But you know, okay, I will say, I haven't used Ecamm Live in any big way for quite some time. And as I've been playing with it this past week and a half, something like that, and really pushing it, I found some really cool things about it. One thing being when someone like Chuck drops out and they come back in again, we bring them back into the show, they maintain their assignment. I've assigned him as guest one throughout this broadcast so that he can be here on the side of us as we're talking, or I can have just Chuck in the screen, or do the side by side. That where you see Chuck on the screen is assigned to guest one. If he drops out and comes back, he just comes right back to the guest one slot, which is really cool. All right, so time for echo. Time for echo, Chuck. We're going to do a little MacVoices segment here. It's been a while. Welcome back to Macstock, Chuck.
Well, thank you, Mike. I was sorry I missed what was the in-person Macstock this year, and I'm sorry about the echo. I don't know that I'm doing anything. I think it may be somewhere in between us.
Yeah, I'm really not sure why that might be. I apologize for that, everyone.
Yeah, but virtual Macstock is great. It's not necessarily a perfect replacement for the in-person stuff, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to ask what you've been up to with MacVoices. I actually noticed a decided shift toward more of this, more live streaming. And I was curious if that's a side effect of the past couple of years or if it's just a happy coincidence that you're doing more live streaming.
A little bit of both. Mac Voices Live started out as just something we were experimenting with, and it sort of took on a life of its own. But just as with this live streaming, with any live streaming, you have the problem of time zones. It's this whole round Earth thing that we can't seem to avoid. And so, yeah, you do the live stuff, and it's great because you have a lot of interaction in the chat, like we're having now. But also the idea that you want to get that material and information out to folks who live off continent or in other time zones or just can't make it because of work or kids or whatever. So I take the shows, slice them up into, depending on how long we go, to roughly 25 to 30 minute segments each, and then release them on the feed. And of course, that means that one show takes up 3 days worth of, one live show takes up 3 days worth of regular feeds. And, yeah, I could do it all, but there's something about live that seems to be just fine for an hour and a half or an hour or whenever. But it gets a little tedious in a podcast. And that's why I've been splitting them up.
I'm going to experiment here and try muting my microphone while you're talking and see if that makes a difference on the echo. I actually have some more questions for you, Chuck. But what I want to do is I want to get back to Macstock in 2022 for a moment and turn to the survey results. This is why everybody tuned into the show, I think. Maybe they tuned in for you, Chuck. It's actually very likely that they tuned in for you than for me. But we'll go through the survey results anyway.
I somehow think that's not accurate, Mike, but I'll go with it for the moment.
Okay, so I need to leave one set of notes and go to my other set of notes. Okay, so this one, all right, well, one, Brett's here for Mike and Sexy Glasses. He's just not going to let that go. Thank you, Brett. I appreciate that. Anytime I can hear those words, Sexy and Mike put together, I'm a happy camper. So thank you very much. And of course, Rick says that he read it on Twitter, so it must be true. And how can you argue with that? All right, now, this is not on Twitter. This is just going to be for you guys. And everyone who took the survey and everyone who is thinking about attending Macstock. So I went through the results. This took a few days. I really wanted to make sure I covered every aspect of how folks answered and what your thoughts really were on attending Macstock in person in 2022. So I want to start out by saying, for comparison purposes, even though we were on track to host more folks in 2020, for the purposes of the survey, I'm going to assume 192 in-person attendees. That was Macstock 2019's numbers, okay? So that is where I'm coming from when I mention how many attendees some of these numbers represent. The 192 in-person attendees, which was Macstock 2019. So let's start with one of the very first questions was whether folks would attend with a vaccine requirement in place. And 16% of the folks who took the survey, and this was pretty consistent from day one, I'll have to say. It fluctuated between 16 and 20%. 16% have said that they will not attend with a vaccine requirement in place. And that represents approximately 31 Macstock attendees. 84% of those who took the survey, doing the math, said they were okay with a vaccine requirement. And that represents approximately 161 Macstock attendees. Now, of those who are okay with the vaccine requirement, you probably noticed that a bunch of questions popped up after you said you were okay or not okay. If you were not okay, you didn't get these questions. If you were okay with it, you did get these questions. Of those who were okay with it, and would consider attending Macstock, 22% will not attend until the pandemic is over, or feel that Macstock should be postponed to 2023, or other. There were some others, and some of the answers that folks gave might reveal who they are. I'm not going to talk about those on the live stream. Let's just suffice other reasons they may or may not attend. But the 22% overall were folks who said they wouldn't attend until the pandemic's over or feel it should be postponed to 2023. 28% of those who took the survey, 28% of those who said they were okay with the vaccine requirement will attend only with full personal safety protocols in place. And now that translates to a vaccine requirement, masks, and social distancing. That's full personal safety protocols for the purposes of this conversation. 18% said they would attend with partial personal safety protocols, and that translates to a vaccine requirement and optional masks. And 32% said they were comfortable attending now. Okay, that probably should not have been an option. In retrospect, that was a mistake on my part. It was not a very good option to give people. But because folks who answered that they were comfortable attending now also fall into the okay with vaccine requirement category, I'm going to translate this. I made the executive decision to translate this to I am comfortable attending regardless of requirements. Okay, so those were percentages. I want to break that down to the equivalent number of 2019 attendees. That means 35 attendees will not come until the pandemic is over or feel it should be postponed. 45 would attend with full personal safety protocols in place, and 29 will attend with partial, or say they would attend with partial personal safety protocols, and 52 would attend regardless of requirements. So at this point, our total potential attendance based on the survey is 97 people plus 29 who are on the fence if full safety protocols are in place. So that gives us a potential total of 126 attendees. Okay, so then I thought, well, let's move on to who said they were already coming versus who wasn't. 81% of those who took the survey were planning to attend Macstock 2020. Now, of those who said they were planning to attend, we're split right down the middle of confirmed purchases with 51%, and those who are not confirmed purchases or did not yet purchase a weekend pass for the weekend. So of those 81%, 51% had already purchased a weekend pass, 49 did not. Of those 81% who were planning to attend, 14% will not attend with full safety protocols in place, which is very close to that overall 16% that said they wouldn't attend. And so now if we break these numbers down to an equivalent number of 2019 attendees, 156 were planning to attend, 80 are confirmed purchases, 76 were planning to come but not committed yet, and 22 will not attend. 7 of those 22 had already purchased a weekend pass, and 15 had not yet. So that gives us, breaking it down that way, that gives us a potential total of 134 attendees. So I wanted to come up with an overall potential attendance if we host Macstock in 2022. You know what, I'm going to star your comment here for a second, Dave, and come back to that in just a moment. I'm going to take the low end of paid attendance and split the difference on the high end which gives us somewhere between 73 and 130 attendees. Now, I'll be honest, that low-end number concerns me. But if we can hit right in the middle somewhere, like between 90 and 110, somewhere like that, that would put us right around Macstock 2015's numbers. And I can make that work. I can make that work. But the cost to host a full weekend with 73 people on the low end, I'm not sure I can make that work. Okay. So real quick, I wanted to get into some of the miscellaneous. You know what? No, I'm going to get to what Dave said here in just a moment. Dave said, I was one of those people who answered and you interpreted my intention properly. So long as everyone's vaxxed, I'm fine being there, masks or not, and I'm happy to wear a mask if you ask. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. That is pretty much how I interpreted a lot of the answers. Because they were anonymous, unless someone specifically gave their personal information to me, I don't know who answered these questions. And even when you did purposely give away who you were, I tended to lop that out. People who've been following how I handle privacy at Macstock the past couple of years know I'm rather militant about it. I'm very concerned about everyone's privacy, especially since we have international travelers coming in. But I am very concerned about it. And so anytime someone gave an answer that revealed who they were, intentionally or not, all that was cut out. So as I went through these results, I really don't know who answered these questions or didn't. Thank you, Dave. Brett also says that he would pay full price, but I'm not sure I can justify attending in person right now. And that's fair. That's fair. I get that. And that's going to be the case for a lot of folks. Okay, real quick, I wanted to get into some of the miscellaneous answers because they definitely factor into the overall equation, and they absolutely will affect the numbers that we just talked about. So now I'm going to point out that only those who indicated they were okay with all available personal safety protocols were asked these following questions. I mentioned that a moment ago, but I'll just reiterate it. If you said you were not okay with the vaccine requirement, you did not get these questions. If you were okay, you did get these questions. So while I guess it would be possible, I did not attempt to match up the answers to these questions with who said they'd come or not come, or whether weekend passes were already purchased. In other words, this is just the raw data from these miscellaneous questions from those who were presented these questions. Okay. Yes, Brett also said much depends on the numbers moving forward. Absolutely. And that's kind of the point of this conversation today. Early in the process, that's kind of the point. It does very much depend on the numbers moving forward. And it's something that I'm going to be watching very, very closely over the next couple weeks. Okay, on to the questions. If tickets went on sale today for Macstock VI, July 2022, when do you think you might be ready to make a decision to attend? 15% could make a decision 5 to 6 months out. 18% could decide 3 to 4 months out. 29%, and this is important, 29% won't decide until 1 to 2 months out. 29% are ready to decide now, and then 9% were miscellaneous or other. What barriers do you currently face that might prevent you from attending? Honestly, none of these are a surprise. 47% are concerned for their personal health and safety. 35% are concerned with the travel itself. 28% are rightly concerned about the health and safety of those closest to them. 18% have vaccine and or face mask requirement concerns. Again, admittedly, this is another one of those ambiguous questions of mine. I don't know. The person who got this question already said they're okay with the vaccine requirement. I don't know. This was a bad answer to give people. 6% mentioned workplace travel bans and restrictions. 9% have international travel bans and restrictions to deal with, which does directly affect Macstock's programming, which we'll talk about in a moment. And 4% are concerned with reduced funding. Lastly, how much time would you need to plan a trip to attend Macstock with a go decision? I had said that I'll need to make several go or no go decisions as we move forward. With a go decision, how much time do you need to plan a trip? 31% need 1 month, 32% require at least 3 months, 29% can pick up and go anytime, 1% need at least 4 months, and 1% needs 6 months or more. So again, none of that is a surprise, but what I did find interesting, and other than those who could pick up and go anytime, there was a direct correlation there. There wasn't a meaningful correlation between how much time was required and where in the world people were located. I thought that was really interesting. For those who didn't need a specific time frame, it should be unsurprising. Yeah, so those who said they could pick up and go anytime, I should say, it should be unsurprising that though they were primarily located in Illinois or the surrounding states within a couple hours of Macstock based on how they answered where they're located in the world. Now, where they're located in the world was another one of those things I could have done better because it defaulted to United States. If someone did not answer, because it was optional, if someone did not answer that, it still said United States. My fault. So I could only go by those who actually gave me an answer where in the world they were located. So statistically, those aren't very good results. One last thing. I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to do the survey. As I said in the newsletter in December, I feel like sometimes I feel like one of those cartoon characters that runs into a wall and bounces off and runs into the wall and bounces off and runs into the wall and then keeps trying to run into the wall or through the wall. That's kind of how I've been feeling lately. And so reaching out to you guys and getting your feedback on this and getting your feedback today, it really means a lot to me. It means a lot to my family, and it means a lot to Macstock. So thank you. Thank you very much for doing that. So that's the survey results. We did mention a couple of the folks who left comments here. I hope I didn't miss any. If anyone has any questions about the survey results that I can answer, I may not be able to answer it. I might have to go back to the numbers again. But if you have any questions about it, leave a comment in there and I'll try to answer them real quick here. In the meantime, I want to switch back to Chuck Joiner. Chuck, how are you?
Mike, I'm
You've
good.
been awfully
I'm
silent.
good. They tell me that the echo's gone.
Oh.
There's Dave said something about the way that you're routing the my audio to you. So
It's not surprising. It's my fault, honestly.
well, no, just I mention it because apparently there was something you did at one point that killed it. So without killing mine. So
Oh,
Brian says
perhaps
the
it
echo's
was
still
when
there.
I muted my microphone.
Yeah. So I don't know
Maybe
if
that's
that
what did
helps.
it.
But listen, I want to take a chance and say, first of all, that you're to be commended for the transparency you're giving your decision making, and also just the diligence that you're putting forth in this. I mean, I seriously doubt that CES or NAB or any of the other big trade shows are doing anything more than you're doing. You're really looking at this hard, not just from the standpoint, does it make sense, but also from the standpoint of, is it safe to put on an event like this? And so, no kidding, I really, really applaud you. It's slogging through the survey results. Yeah, there's a lot of information there, and I'm sure you can slice it and dice it. But the fact that you're taking the time says a lot about how much you care about not only Macstock but also the audience and the attendees.
Well, there's actually something I was going to mention a little bit later when we start talking about safety protocols with Macstock. But there's one thing I've learned these past couple years. And that is that it's a heck of a lot easier to make a decision for myself and for my family about what we want to do, what we can do, and how we can do it safely than it is to make that same decision for 200 people, their families, and everyone that they come in contact with. That's a daunting prospect. And, again, thank everyone for taking the survey. But ultimately, as you said, it's on me, Chuck. This is one of those decisions I have to make. And if we're going to do this, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to ensure that everyone is as safe as possible. We did that with uh, virtual Macstock last year. We had a very, very small in-person audience, and some things could have been done better. And that's where we're going to make changes for Macstock in 2022 if we can make it happen.
But
Um,
Mike, don't you think that everybody is doing that? Everybody is trying to adjust to this, and Macstock is no different in that regard. We're all trying to decide, are in-person events worth the risk, because there's always going to be some kind of risk.
you know,
And and listen, we're all trying stuff. We saw it again this year at CES. They tried things. Some things really, really worked well. Some maybe not so much. So it's a learning process we're all going through, both as conference creators or event creators, as well as event attendees.
well, Chuck, I am so glad you brought up CES because I had a question for you. You
Okay.
probably could feel this was coming, and that's why you led in with the CES stuff. But interviews and product introductions have always been kind of a staple of Mac Voices. And you've always taken the opportunity, as long as I've known you, to actually attend events in person, to interview the reps from these companies in person. Um, you travel to these larger events. And last month, you made an important decision regarding CES, and that was, which I think was the first live CES in a couple of years. I don't think they've had anything in person for a couple of years now. But you decided not to attend in person and to conduct all of your interviews virtually. Now, I've watched a number of them already myself, and they've been great, of course. Finger guns, they've been great. But how do you feel it worked out for you, and how do you feel it worked out for those that you've interviewed?
Boy, that's an interesting question, Mike. For me, it was okay. I okay. The positives of doing it virtually were that you scheduled times and you had more time with the people, and you had the people focused on our conversation, as opposed to who's trying to make off with something from the booth over on the other side as they're looking over your shoulder. The downside is just getting those schedules made. Everybody's busy, and I obviously there were not nearly as many interviews this year, and in past years for CES, virtual CES, because you just don't have that opportunity to walk up and say, "Hey, let's do 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and give me the elevator pitch on your product." Because that's what all the trade show interviews always are. It's more to whet the appetite, answer a few key questions, and then move on, both for your sake, meaning me, the interviewer, but also the interviewee, because they've got 5 people lined up behind me that want to talk to them, and maybe 10 potential customers also wanting to talk to them. So, it's different. I don't know that it's better or worse. There's some definite advantages. There's some definite disadvantages. I've got, let's see, probably, I'm not sure about later this week or next week, there's a conversation coming up with someone that I always look forward to talking to at Macstock, or pardon me, CES. But the problem, of course, is that the time. So we got a little more time with him, but it also has taken almost a month to get the scheduling done. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword. But we, you made the decision that I made the decision for two reasons. The first one was trying to figure out, who was actually definitely still going to be there because people were really canceling out at a pretty rapid rate. And more importantly, though, what was going to happen as far as me becoming infected. Now, I don't want to be cavalier about this. I wasn't nearly as concerned about me being infected, but um, if I test positive, I'm stuck. I'm stuck in Vegas for 10 days, 7 to 10 days in a hotel room. I can't enjoy Vegas. I can't enjoy CES. All I've got hopefully is Netflix in the hotel, and that's like that's just not going to work because that's also 10 days off of work time because I use my vacation time to go to things like CES. So at the end of the day, it just didn't seem like a good risk reward ratio. And that's the way I made the decision. And I have an idea that's maybe the way a lot of folks are trying to make the Macstock decision. Do they want to go? Absolutely. But there's this risk reward thing. And so, you know, there are no right answers for you or for them. It's just what you're comfortable with and what you can make work. That's an important thing that people have to remember, that this is a business proposition for you just like it is for CES or NAB. Sometimes you have to make the business decisions.
It is. It is. I'm glad you brought that up because you mentioned if you get sick, and the fact is that Janet and I both run small businesses, and we live in the same household, along with our daughter, who also helps at the other small business. If any one of us gets sick, we're down for a minimum a week. That's a huge hit on the finances. And so, we as a family have been much more militant about enforcing masks at Janet's shop, about enforcing masks when people come to my office, and about enforcing mask wearing ourselves when we go out in public. And it's because we have so much to risk. We have so much to lose if any one of us were to get sick. And, but we have to. We have to take these extra steps because we can't afford to be down. And you can't afford to be out of work if you were to go to CES and get sick. Um, but I guess I'd ask, would you do it differently next time? If CES were held now, if CES, when CES is held next year, would you do it differently, or are you going to approach it very much the same way that you did this year?
Mike, I'll have to approach it just like I'll approach Macstock. NAB's coming up at the end of April, and that's the
Right?
way I plan to approach that. You have to look at the numbers. The tool you had there is phenomenal. For trying to do some kind of intelligent assessment, but it just, I mean, it's unfortunate. And you brought up getting sick. It's one thing, and it's one thing to really get sick and say, okay, I need to go and lay down in bed for 3 days. It's another one to test positive, like some of the athletes are right now in China. They test positive. They say they feel fine. There are no symptoms, but you've still tested positive. So now I'd like to think that everybody who tests positive is responsible and doesn't decide to try to get on a plane to get home because they're not going to be allowed into the show. So
Right.
any way you take it, you're stuck. And that's, that was my part of my decision making process. That, and of course, the risk reward. Macstock, we all know what the reward's going to be. It's going to be great presentations and getting together with a lot of our friends, assuming our friends are coming. But or most of them or some of them are coming. But is the risk worth it?
Exactly. Exactly. And I apologize for the little hesitation there. I do believe we discovered it has to do with me muting my microphone. So somehow the Zoom mixer here being used as an audio interface is causing feedback when you are coming through it. I wonder if well, I'll just do better about muting myself when you're on.
And I'll raise my hand maybe.
Okay, we are getting close to an hour. I told you guys it was going to be an hour. We always run long. We always run long. So I'm gonna be quick about this. Macstock's name change. For those who missed the newsletter in December, look, this 2020, 2021, 2022, it was getting tiring. It was getting tiring going through the website and changing it every place it's mentioned every time we make a change. So we're changing the name. It was just too silly to continually change everything every time a year changed. Plus, it was confusing, especially when Virtual Macstock was brought into the picture. People were thinking that Virtual Macstock 2021 was Macstock 2021. No, it wasn't. It was the whole thing. So rather than using years, like Macstock 2022, we can say Macstock in 2022, but we're going to switch over to numbers. So the next Macstock, no matter when it's held, is going to be Macstock 6. And I like Roman numerals, so it's Macstock VI. Followed, of course, by Macstock 7, 8, 9, and then the one I'm waiting for, because I have really big plans percolating in my head for this one, Macstock X. No, not X, Macstock 10. Macstock 10, that's what we're going to call it. Okay, latest updates on Macstock's venue. We do have space. The conference center at MCC is and has been reserved for July 23rd and 24th. Face masks are currently required at all times by the state of Illinois and by McHenry County College. Catering, the culinary services that they've always offered, they've always been great, are not available. So if we can host Macstock this year, I'm working on some fun ideas for how to get food into the conference center. We do have permission to cater in our own food. And I have some interesting ideas for that. I got to reach out to some of my contacts and see if we can make these happen. But I do want to say that I'm going to work with whoever we hire to do the catering to assure a safe, low-touch environment. And then, of course, this is something I borrowed from another small conference. I really like that they mention this. You are, of course, welcome to pack your own lunch each day if that's your preference. If you don't want to eat the food that's provided, that's cool. Pack your own lunch. I think that's an amazing option. I thought that was really cool that they offered that to their attendees. And of course, that's an offer I make to you as well. If you prefer to pack your own lunch, for whatever reason, if that makes more sense to you, do so. You're welcome to do so. And then along those lines, I'll also be extending the lunch hour to an hour and a half, and then that would allow folks more time and more space to maintain distance and respect the personal space of others during the lunch period. Okay, so that's the update on the venue. That's the update on the name change. Chuck,
Mike?
any big plans for MacVoices this year? Anything that you can share?
I think you killed your mic now. I can't hear you.
Oh, how about now?
There you go.
All right. Any big plans for MacVoices this year or anything you can share?
Nothing I'm going to share. There are always plans. It's sometimes a matter of just having the resources and the assets and the time to accomplish them. But just to continue what we do, we talk to great people. A lot of the folks in the chat room have been guests on it, on the show, and you've been a guest on the show. There's so many great people out in this community, so much interesting tech and useful tech, and that's kind of the idea. And also to get people maybe out of their comfort zone just a little bit and think about some of the things. MacVoices Live has been touching on some of the headlines recently, a bit more than the show itself has in the past. And I like doing that because it's a good back and forth. We have a great group of people, and we seldom all agree on things. And I like that. I like that a lot because I don't want just a bunch of yes people. And I'll tell you something else about our panel. I mean, I will put our panel up against anybody else out there that is doing panel discussions of Apple technology, because we've got different ages, we've got different areas of the country, we've got different expertises, we have different backgrounds. I love these people so much because, and they come and it's impossible to intimidate any of them. So they're going to tell you what they think, whether you like it or not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. So I am personally excited to see what comes from MacVoices this year. And with any luck, maybe we'll have another road to Macstock.
I would love that. I would love that.
Okay, so oops, unmuted again. Okay, so I do want to wrap things up today with some important programming and protocol updates for Macstock 6. So we're going to start with safety protocols. And again, I mentioned one thing I've learned, it's a lot easier to make a decision for myself, for my family, and how we can stay safe than it is to make a decision for all of you. So as I go through these, understand that when I've come up with these protocols, the idea is to keep you as safe as possible. I'm also borrowing, cribbing, stealing from other small conferences and how they're doing things. Some are moving forward with events this year. There was one in December that held their event. Some are moving forward this year. Some are canceling. I'm keeping a close eye on what's going on. I'm also, as we talked about earlier, keeping a close eye on the stats. Our governor recently announced that he may lift the mask mandate soon. It's important to point out that they did that last May, and by August had reinstituted the mask mandate because the Delta variant had come along and things started to get worse again. The second the mandates are lifted, heck, even before the mandates are lifted, people are whipping those masks off. But the second the mandates are lifted, the masks are going to come off and the risk of spread is going to be greater. So I have to keep an eye on those things and make sure those numbers don't keep going up if the state of Illinois does go ahead and lift the mask mandate. So these are all things that I'm watching. But when I have been working on these protocols, the whole idea is just to keep everyone in attendance safe. I mentioned virtual Macstock last year. We tried to do a small gathering of people. We started out with minimal safety protocols because we were at a low point in infection rates last summer when I announced that in June. As we got closer, we had to continually, like weekly, change how we were going to keep everyone safe at Virtual Macstock, those who attended. So with Macstock 6 in mind, if we can hold Macstock 6 this year, we're going to start with full safety protocols in effect. And again, I don't know why my mixer is making weird crackly noises. If you see a fire break out, I've got an extinguisher around. Oh, there's one right there. Okay. It's making weird noises. Again, part of the reason we started with lighter or minimal safety protocols for Virtual Macstock, the in-person Virtual Macstock last year, was again the state lifting the mask mandates in May. Delta came along, threw things out of whack. Everything went cattywampus, and I had to change the rules every week. It was messy, it was confusing, and more importantly, it was frustrating for all of you. So if we start with full safety protocols in effect, everyone knows what to expect. Now, at the moment, as of today, the state of Illinois still mandates masks indoors, including at our venue. So, for today's discussion, full safety protocols means proof of full vaccination as defined by the CDC, masks covering nose and mouth, and also I'll be providing socially distanced seating in sections throughout the presentation rooms. We'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second. As of today, this is the expectation that everyone should have. As we move forward, there might be an opportunity to reevaluate, but if someone signing up for Macstock does so because we have these full safety protocols in effect, I don't want to pull the rug out from under them and say, guess what? Things have changed, and now we're halfway to Macstock. They signed up because of these protocols. I don't want to lightly make any changes as we get closer to Macstock VI. This way, the rug is there, everyone is standing on it, and we know what to expect. Okay. So, in addition to that, in addition to full safety protocols being full vaccination defined by the CDC, mask cover nose and mouth, and socially distanced seating sections, additionally, Macstock VI's attendance is currently capped at 125. Now, 125 is well under half the capacity of the conference center. On top of that, Brian said Mike is muted. I'm not muted. Oh, okay, good now? All right. Sorry about that. Okay, Macstock VI's attendance is currently capped at 125, well under half the capacity of the conference center. No walk-in attendees will be allowed. Everyone has to pre-register. You can't walk in like we've allowed people to do in the past. All attendees are going to be required to perform a simple, very simple, self-screening for symptoms and risk factors prior to attending Macstock. This is not a test. It's not a test that you have to do. It's a simple, if this, then that type question, going through some of the risk factors, some of the other things to take into consideration. And if you answer no or yes, depending on the question, we'd ask that you not attend. And it's primarily, are you experiencing these symptoms? That sort of thing. All attendees, volunteers, and presenters are going to be required to be fully vaccinated. And again, fully vaccinated against COVID-19 as defined by the CDC. And that full vaccination needs to be at least 14 days prior to Macstock weekend. Vaccinated children, 13 to 17, may attend with a responsible adult. With a responsible adult. So, I guess they wouldn't be attending with me. I will provide socially distanced seating areas and mark areas that should not be used to help maintain personal space. Now, that said, I will also set aside sections for those who are comfortable sitting together. Again, this is a cue I've taken from other small conferences and how they were doing things. If your preference is to be distanced from others, there'll be sections for you to sit. If your preference, because you're comfortable doing so, is to sit near others, there'll be sections where you can do that as well. Outside of the main hall or breakout rooms, I would ask that people respect the personal space of others and minimize contact. Now, I've been thinking what I'll do is provide a means by which people can indicate their preferences. And my initial thought along these lines is like red, yellow, green. If it's red, it's, stay the hell away from me. If it's yellow, well, let's talk, but, keep your distance. And if it's green, I don't want to say all bets are off, but, you're much more comfortable being closer to others than you are if you indicate with the red. That's my initial thinking. I'm going to have to think about that a little bit more and see if I can come up with something better. But that's my initial thinking. If you attend, you'll have a way to indicate to others quickly what your preference is, and we ask everyone to honor that preference. As we get near the date of Macstock, and perhaps a couple times before, um, I'll want to know that you're really coming. So I'm going to be sending out RSVP emails to ask folks if they're really coming, confirm they understand the safety protocols, and perhaps some other questions about your preferences and things like that. But I do want to know that you're coming, and this is just so I can plan better for the size of the audience that will be there. Even though we're capping it at 125, there's still some planning that needs to take place in terms of the seating and socially distancing people and things like that. Now, that said, I know I ran through those kind of quickly. I'm going to provide a full page of all these guidelines, travel planning tips, and kind of while at Macstock guidelines to help everyone stay safe, and that'll be on an updated website that I'll get out soon. Oh, and of course, I'll put a fallback plan in place as well. Unforeseen things will happen. The venue might cancel on us. Things might happen that make it impossible for Macstock to take place and require that I cancel in-person activities. If that happens, well, you need to know the next steps. So in addition to these live streams, which I'll continue to do to kind of keep people updated, and they won't all be this long, I'm going to have a written plan in place so that everyone knows where to turn for the latest updates. Okay, I think that's enough safety protocols for now. Programming updates. Programming updates for Macstock 6. This first change is really tough for me. You'll notice I said that the venue is reserved for the 23rd and 24th. It's tough for me because I know I promised 3 days to everyone when I had to postpone on you in 2020. And I really don't like to go back on my promises. But the reality of the situation is that it's just not going to be possible to host 3 days for Macstock 6. At the moment, we don't have enough presenters for 3 days. And with the limited attendance expected for Macstock 6, it's cost prohibitive to switch to a venue that would allow me to host you for 3 days. We've looked into it. The costs are high, and the cancellation penalties are high, and I can't absorb that. So if we're going to have Macstock 6 this year, it's going to be 2 days. Now, the good news is that for those who already purchased a weekend pass, you paid for 2 days. You didn't pay for 3 days. You paid for 2 days. And that's what I can promise you for Macstock 6. And 3 days I'll have to wait. Now, I do understand that, I made this promise. If that's a deal breaker, reach out to me and I'll help come up with a solution that, that satisfies everyone. Third. Due to logistical and international travel being what it is, the Macstock Film Fest is not going to be held at Macstock 6. Additionally, there'll be no Macstock swap trading area. I mean, personally, I can't think of anything grosser than digging through a pile of old equipment that somebody else has dug through, and we're in the middle of the tail end of a pandemic. We're not doing it. We're not doing a Macstock swap. I will seek out sponsors for Macstock 6, and I will encourage them to attend in person, but I am going to be asking the same of them that I'm asking of you, and that's to abide by the safety protocols that Macstock has in place at the time of the event. Now, for sponsors who can't attend in person, I'm going to work with them to come up with a virtual solution so that those who are in attendance can still interact with them and learn about their products. And then the final programming change is a bit of an unofficial one, but there will be no planned evening activities for Macstock attendees this year. Now, of course, you're welcome and you're encouraged to hit the town on your own. Totally up to you. hang out at the hotel or favorite restaurant after the day comes to a close. I can't stop that, but there isn't going to be any official evening activities. Um, and that's really to help encourage and foster a safe weekend for everyone. Some folks won't want to go out. They won't want to hang out with others in the evening. Some folks might. That's a decision you're going to have to make for yourself. But I'm not going to be hosting anything at the hotel or the restaurant when each day comes to a close. Oh, that wasn't the final update. That wasn't the final update. There's a fun update. Some of those were kind of not so fun. There's a fun update. A fun update is that there's going to be a theme change for Macstock 6. Up until today, we've been saying the next in-person Macstock is going to be themed to play. And that's cool. We'll still do play in the future. But now, Macstock 6's theme will be rebuilding. That's going to be the theme of Macstock 6. Kind of makes sense when you think about it. But the theme will be rebuilding. So with that in mind, over the next few weeks, I'm going to be overhauling the Macstock website. I'm going to be including some of those changes I just talked about, updating the speakers and schedule, as well as the new safety plans, attendee guidelines, travel planning tips, venue updates, and more. And I'm going to be hosting the next one of these in early March, but not March 8th. I understand there may be another set of announcements that day. So, not March 8th. I've been hearing that day's reserved by somebody higher up in the Apple chain than me. But early March, we'll be doing the next live stream. And I think that's it. I think that's it, folks. Oops. I didn't just finish the live stream, did I? No, I didn't. Okay, good. Chuck, are you still with us?
I am still with you. I went away for a little while, but I'm back.
And now you're out of sync.
Oh, great. Just, well, hey, that's what being the wingman in the first attempt at a live stream is all about, is just being able to adapt.
But is there an echo? Oh, but is there an echo?
I think, well, I don't know. You will have to let the our friends tell us, because I'm not hearing an echo. But of course, I'm watching, but I'm not listening to our live stream, because if you do that, then things really get confused.
Absolutely right. Well, I will say that I think that's about it. I think that's about it. You've heard me lay out everything today as best I can. And while doing so, I'm going to continue to strive to be as transparent as possible about all of this. I want you to know my decision-making process. I want you to know why I set rules in place that I set in place, and I hope I explained that well enough today. The fact is that conditions are changing every day. Every day conditions are changing, and regardless of the numbers, there's still risk with travel. There's still risk with large gatherings, and that's why I'm striving to exceed the safety mandates that others are putting in place. I'm trying to exceed the safety protocols others are putting in place, and I'm going to be asking the same of Macstock's attendees, catering, the venue, and the hotels. Now, the truth is I can't control what happens outside the wall of Macstock. As you travel here, as you stay in hotels, as you eat at restaurants, that's all out of my control. But while you're in my house, while you're in my house, I'm gonna control things as best I can to make sure that everybody is safe. I mentioned this earlier. I absolutely understand that some people are not comfortable with in-person events, that they're unable or unwilling to observe the requirements that are laid out. I get that. And for those folks, I'm going to continue to offer digital passes It's not going to be a live stream, but it's digital passes for anyone who would still like to catch the talks after the weekend ends, just like digital passes have been in years past. So that's it. That's the hour and 20-minute long, hour-long live stream. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. But more importantly, thanks to Chuck for joining me today. Chuck, what is the best way for folks to find you and to learn about all the cool things that you've got going on?
Hey, you can come to MacVoices.com. That's where you can see and hear everybody we talk to. We are on Tuesday nights as MacVoices Live on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. And that is 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We'd love to have you join us in the chat room. And on the socials, you can find me as at Chuck Joiner. Thanks, Mike, and thank you for Macstock in all its forms, past, present, and future.
Well, it certainly wouldn't be possible without you, Chuck. You've been a big help throughout all the years. All the presenters have, and all the attendees have. Glasses are back on, Brett. I put them on just for you. Just for you, Brett. Don't tell Elle I did that. Thanks to you for being here today. We thank Chuck, but thank you too. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for putting up with all the changes we've had to make for Macstock through all this. And thank you especially for your support and your love. I've said it before, and I truly mean it. Your support means the world to me and my family, and I can't thank you enough for being there time and time again and continuing to support Macstock even when we can't host it like we want to. Thank you, everyone. Take care, be safe, and be kind to one another. We'll see you next time.